Hello, welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to focus on the following question. What is land contamination? Lesson objective. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe land contamination. Today, you will learn about how human activity impacts land contamination. Before you read, name three facts you know about land contamination. Write two questions you have about land contamination and write an analogy about land contamination. 1. I know that sometimes chemicals from the trash can contaminate the soil and eventually the groundwater we need for drinking. 2. I know that farms use fertilizers, pesticides, and insecticides which contaminate land. And 3. I know that chemical and nuclear plants produce waste materials that is sometimes buried underground. Generating questions. How do I ask good questions? Good questions start with who, what, where, when, why, and how. Brainstorm a list of at least 12 questions about this topic. Here are some question starts to help you generate good, thought-provoking questions. Why? What are the reasons? What if? What is the purpose of? How would it be different if? Suppose that. What if we knew? What would change if? Try to use one of these question starts to generate your questions. So, let's write two questions you have about land contamination. Well, I used one of the question starts. What are the reasons for land contamination? I would like to find out more about that. And next question, I also used a question start. Suppose all garbage was biodegradable. Would the land be contaminated then as well? And finally, write an analogy about land contamination. The land is like a sponge. It can absorb contaminants. Independent work. Land contamination. If you were walking along a trail and saw a sign like this, what would you think? What is contaminated land? It is soil that contains chemicals that are harmful to the environment and to people. There are many ways that land can become contaminated. Land contamination can happen naturally, as when ocean salt water floods farmland. It can be accidental if something such as a chemical or soil spill occurs, or it can be intentional if waste from factories or homes is disposed improperly. You can think of some ways. Can you think of some ways that this land may become contaminated? Garbage has to go somewhere. Once or twice a week, most households put their garbage cans or bags near the street. But where does it all go? Communities have two ways for garbage to be removed. One is through a recycling company. However, only about 30% of garbage is recycled. The rest is waste that cannot be recycled. Some of the waste may be biodegradable. This waste is dumped into a landfill. A landfill is a place where waste is buried underground. No matter where you live, there's probably a landfill somewhere in your area. There are three ways to cut down on the amount of waste thrown away: reduce, reuse, or recycle. Reducing how much you use, such as by using a metal water bottle, can, rather than single-use water bottles, reduces landfill waste. Reusing some materials, such as donating old clothes, reducing landfill waste. Recycling materials, such as metal cans and paper, reduces landfill waste as well. After reading, name three facts you know about land contamination. So now I'm going to name three facts that I learned after from the reading. Well, I learned that land contamination can occur from ocean saltwater flooding farmlands. I didn't know that before. So if there's farmland close to the ocean, and if there's a tsunami or a storm, ocean water can flood the farmland, and that would be really bad for the farmer. 2. I learned that, quote, only 30% of garbage is recycled. Um, that's very low. I was hoping that the number would be higher. And 3. I learned that three ways to cut down on the amount of waste thrown away: reduce, reuse, recycle. Now, were you able to find answers to either of the two questions in the reading? Use text evidence to support your answer. So I'm going to go and try to find the answer to my first two questions. What are the reasons for land contamination? And suppose all garbage was biodegradable, would the land be contaminated? So I found the answer on this slide to my first question. Land contamination can happen naturally, as when ocean saltwater floods farmland. It can be accidental if something such as a chemical or soil spill occurs, or it can be intentional if waste from factories or homes is disposed improperly. So, to answer my first question, land contamination can be man made or natural. It can be accidental or intentional. So, uh, land contamination is not always man made and is not always intentional. Sometimes it could be natural and accidental. Second question, suppose all garbage was biodegradable. Would it still contaminate the land? Communities have two ways for garbage to be removed. One is through a recycling company. However, only about 30% of garbage is recycled. The rest is waste that cannot be recycled. Some of the waste may be biodegradable. This waste is dumped into a landfill. A landfill is a place where waste is buried underground. So, to answer my second question, the text states that even biodegradable waste is dumped into a landfill, which may still contaminate the soil and take a very long time to decompose. Write a new analogy about land contamination. So now, having gained information from the reading, I'm going to generate a new analogy. Landfills are like graveyards. They're bad real estate. Thanks for watching. See you next time.